What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Well, here I am bringing you guys another video. This one is going to be on memory, speed, and latency. I have put together just a small compilation here, a couple of synthetic benchmarks and some video gaming, just to kind of demonstrate what a difference memory, speed, and latency can make for you when you're using the Ryzen architecture. Unfortunately, the memory controller on my 2600 could not handle this kit here at the rated speed of 3600 MHz. So we're going to be testing with 3200 MHz and also 3466 MHz with tweaked subtimings. I went with this particular kit here because I wanted to play with the sub-timings and primary timings on the memory. I wasn't able to run it again, like I said, at the rated speed for this kit at 3600 MHz, cast latency 15, but I was able to play with the sub-timings and get a substantial amount of performance still out of this kit running at 3466 MHz. So we're going to be taking a look at 3200 MHz speed, cast latency 16, 18, 18, 18, 36 versus 3466 MHz cast latency 14 with tweaked subtiming. Starting with 7-zip benchmark here. During decompression, we get a pretty healthy score of 463 megabytes a second with speeds of 3466 MHz cast latency 14 tweaked subtimings versus 454 megabytes a second using 3200 MHz memory, cast latency 16. On the compression side, we get 34 megabytes a second and 29 megabytes a second using memory speeds of 3200 MHz, cast latency 16. These are not jaw-dropping results, but still you get a little boost and extra performance. Moving on to AIDA64 Extreme Memory benchmark. So we still get a pretty good boost in performance here. Going from 3200 MHz cast latency 16 memory to 3400 MHz cast latency 14 with tweaked subtimings. In the AIDA64 Extreme Memory benchmark, we get a boost of 49,000 megabytes a second copy, 53,000 megabytes a second write, and 53,000 megabytes a second read. As you can see, Ryzen scales up pretty well in this test using fast memory and tighter latencies. In the latency test, we get a boost of 67 nanoseconds from 72 nanoseconds using 3200 MHz cast latency 16 to 3466 cast latency 14 with tweaked subtimings. Moving on to gaming here, starting with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, we get a pretty good performance increase. Starting with your average, you go from 114 frames per second to 128 frames per second, and your minimum go up from 81 to 101 frames per second. This is a pretty good boost in performance just by going from 3200 MHz cast latency 16 memory to 3466 MHz cast latency 14 and tweaking some primary and subtimings on your memory. Moving on to GTA 5, which is a game that likes your CPU speed as well as a good and fast graphics card. We still get a pretty good boost in performance here just by going up in memory speed. Starting with your average frames per second here, you go from 125 to 140 frames per second, and your minimum goes up from 92 to 108 frames per second. This is quite significant, especially for those of you guys out there that like to play this game online or single player, whatever the case may be. You will definitely get a boost in performance just by tweaking out some subtimings and memory speed. Battlefield 1 is another game that takes advantage of a fast multi-core CPU and a good and fast graphics card. So as we take a look at the graph here, you see that your average frames per second goes from 153 frames per second to 171 frames per second, and your minimum goes up from 136 frames per second to 150. So quite an improvement here as well. So well worth investing in a fast kit of memory, especially considering that the new Ryzen CPUs are coming out here this year. It wouldn't be a bad idea to get a fast kit of memory, also because my understanding is that the new Ryzen CPUs will support faster memory than the current JDEC of 2933, I believe it is, for the Ryzen architecture for the second generation, that is. So hopefully, if the rumors are true, if I'm not mistaken, we will get quite a boost in performance in the memory arena. So a kit of 36 100 megahertz or 3400 megahertz, 3466 megahertz will definitely improve your your experience, your gaming experience overall with that beefier integrated memory controller. But anyway, this is all I have for now, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do, and if you didn't, you also know what to do for whatever reason. Please subscribe for more content coming up here in the future. I have a lot of more stuff that I'm working on. Just gotta find the time to squeeze it all in there, but you know how that is. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.